Hello guys, welcome back to HTML5 Crash Course Lesson 9, and in today's lesson we'll be going over the form tag, the label tag and the input tag in HTML5, and we'll be using these tags to create our own registration form using just HTML5. Alright guys, so we're back in our reference box and we'll go and create another file and we'll call it 6 underscore forms underscore labels underscore inputs .html, and then we'll generate a boilerplate, and in the document for the title we'll change this and call this forms labels and inputs. Now it's just important to note, guys, that forms on a website are displayed through HTML and then they're styled through CSS, and then when you submit a form, i.e. the registration form in this case, that's done in the back end, usually with some form of programming language like JavaScript or Python, but quite often it's done through PHP. Now the form tag is used to create a HTML form for user input, and the main purpose of the form tag is to act as a container for different types of input tags, such as text field or checkboxes or buttons. So the form tag looks something like this. So you just hit form, hit tab, and it will generate an open and closing tag. Now with emit, you can see that it's given us an attribute of action. Now what this does is this is what with the back end part. So what you'd put in here is probably something like process.php, and this is where the form gets submitted to. So that's what the action attribute is for. So what we'll do now is just go inside this form tag, as it's going to be the container for our registration. Now what we'll do is just create a comment quickly and put label for name, because it's going to be our name input. And then how we generate a label tag is just label, hit tab, and that's our label, and we'll put in here in the content name. And the for attribute that you see here that emit produces with it is it should be equal to the ID attribute of the input element, and this will bind them together, which I'll demonstrate in a moment. But so the ID, so this label will be for the ID of name, so we'll just put name in here. Now underneath label you'd put the input, so we'll just generate a comment and call it input name or name input. Now how an input works is totally dependent on the type of attribute you specify. So if the attribute's not specified, the default type will be adopted, and the default type in this case is, if I just put input here under the comment, hit tab, it gives us the default type of text. Now how you go about linking these two is you'd go inside here and you put ID, and this would be the ID for name. So now these two are linked together because the label for name is for the ID of name in the input, and that's how these two will be binded together. Now what we'll do is we'll do one for email, so we'll just create a comment here, label and input tag for email. So it would follow the same sort of pattern. So you'd put label, and that would be for email, and then we'll type in here in the content email, and underneath this we'll put the input tag. And then you can see here with emit, it gives us a list of things we can do. So we've even got an input for label, so we'll just, that would be the ID would be for email, and the name you could also put email here. And now that's the label and input tag for email. So what we'll do now quickly is just open this up in live server so we can see what these look like, and we'll just split screen these two. And you can see now that you've got the label for name and the input box for name, and then you've also got the one for email and the input for email. Now they look really similar, but the key difference here would be that if we were to type in something in here, it would only be able to register an email. You wouldn't be able to put like a number or a name in there. What I'll do quickly, actually, just to make this a bit neater, is put a H1 here, and we'll just say it's for gym registration form. And then because inputs and label tags are inline, we'll just put a few line breaks to put them on new lines. And then we'll do the same under here because we're going to put another input in here. Now the next one we'll look at is the membership duration. So we'll just create a comment here quickly. Label input for duration. So we'll create a label first, and then this will be for membership, and then we'll go inside the content bit and just type in membership duration, and then we'll create a line break here just to put the input in the new line. So we'll look at the input now of radio, and I'll demonstrate what this looks like. So we'll put in input here, and then we'll use emit and find the radio input. Hit tab, and you can see now that the rate. I'll put another line break actually, give it a bit more space. You can see now that the input type of radio gives us the circle, which you should be able to click on. So we'll give this an ID of membership. Sorry, name of membership and an ID of membership, and then we'll just put here 3 months, and then we'll copy this down 2 more times, and we'll put a line break, and we'll do the same here, and then we'll just change this to 6, change this to 9. And you can see now in our registration form we've got membership duration, and we can click how long we want the duration to be for, our membership to be for. So we can choose 3 months, 6 months, or 9 months. So again, another really cool input we can use. So after membership, we'll do one for age. So we'll just create a few line breaks here, and then we'll put, let's just scroll down a little bit here so we can see this a bit better. And then inside here, we'll put a comment, and we'll do the same thing. Label and input for age, and then do a label first as always, and that'll be for age, for the ID of age, and then age in here in the content. Put a line break. Now underneath here, the input for age is number, so we'd go find number, and then again the attribute of name would be age. And then this is for the ID, so age in here too. Now what's really cool about this input is that you can only put numbers in here, which highlights how powerful HTML is. I can't generate any text in here. It's only it'd only be numbers. There's even another way we can showcase a birthday, and that's through the date input. So if I just put a line break in here, and then I do the comment of label for birth date, label and input, sorry. I mean, it doesn't matter too much, but it's just a bit neater. And then we'll do a label first, that'll be for birth date, and then birth date in here, and then we'll do one more line break. We'll just do 2, and the input for birth date would be date, so you just go in here, and then this would be the same for label, so birth date, and this would be birth date. So again, another really cool input we could use to show a specific date. So even if you click here on this little icon of the calendar, you can pretty much pick any date you like. So I think this goes on forever really. So again, another really cool and powerful input tag we can use. Now the last one we'll look at is the password. So we'll just create another line break, and then do a comment for label password. So we'll go underneath here, and then we'll put a label for password, and we'll do password, and then we'll just do a line break quickly, and then we'll do the input. And a password has its own input too, so we'll scroll down and find password, and then just do the same. It's a bit repetitive, but you get the gist. Password. And now if we go onto here, Yeah, so if we go into here and I put text in here, the text is hidden just like you'd see in a normal registration form you'd typically find on the internet. So again, another really cool input tag. We'll just quickly duplicate this and just do confirm password. Confirm password. I forgot the input thing here. And then we'll just put in here confirm password. We'll just create a line break to put it in a new line. Cool. And I know this is really ugly, guys, and forms obviously look a lot different to this, but I just wanted to demonstrate the different types of inputs you can use in HTML5. So obviously we'd style this with CSS. So lastly, guys, we can put a submit button. So if we go down here, just create a few line breaks. We won't need a label here, so we'll just put input of submit, and then we'll go underneath this, and then we'll just put in here input, and then we'll look for the submit type. We'll click on here and it gives us a value. Now instead of having to put a label, we can just put our text in here and it will generate inside the input. So if we put here submit, you see that now this becomes a submit button. So it already has default settings. You'd definitely style this with CSS because it's a bit ugly, but you can see already that how powerful the input type of submit is, because it pretty much creates a button that we can click on. So as always, guys, just a quick recap on the key points of the lecture. The form, label and input tag are vital for users to input data on a website. The form tag is a great container for all your input and label tags. We learned that the label tag is great for captions and that the for attribute is used to link the label and input tag together. We also learned that the input tag we use is dependent on the attribute it's given. And finally, we learned that you can also create buttons for just the input tag. So that's it for this video, guys. If you guys like what you see, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video where we learn about the block and inline level elements.